if I'm like rowdy at my Filipino side, they're like, calm down, like, shh. I've always been that little girl in PE beating all the boys. An issue for me when I first started writing and recording was that I couldn't write fast. And I was coding for Kickstarter, but I had 2 other jobs and was doing my clothing line and was going to school full time. Once I started to really pop off, my parents started to, you know, respect what I was doing. ICY GRL needed to go to radio, and without label representation, it was really hard for me to do that. Like, I have very expensive habits and expensive tastes. I like to live well, I like to eat good.
Hi, this is Flaunting. Today I'm here with SAWEETIE.
Hey girl!
So you were born in Santa Clara originally, or?
I was born in Santa Clara and I was raised in Hayward, and then I went to high school in Sacramento.
And so your mom's Filipino and Chinese, or?
Yes,
That's
and then
cool.
my dad's black.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, wait, I relate, because I grew up in Hong Kong, but my mom's Chinese, but she grew up in the Philippines.
Oh wow, you have like that Filipino culture. You can cook Filipino food?
Mostly Chinese. So how big was your like Filipino culture growing up?
Well, I mean, I spent a lot of my time with both families, so my Filipino is a lot more traditional and they're hella strict. But they love to have a good time, karaoke, cooking, drinking, and just they're loving. So I really love that I was able to experience both sides of just like my family, because it helped me to see the world in a different way.
Yeah. Because I'm mixed also, but for you, did you, and this is something I asked a lot of like people who are mixed, but like did you ever have any like issues with your identity or like understanding which parts?
Yes, I had issues as far as just not understanding like, why can I act like this at this house, and why wouldn't I act like this at this house is a problem. Not a problem, but like, for example, like if I'm like rowdy at my Filipino side, they're like, calm down, like, shh, somebody else. And then when I'm like, you know, a little bit more like shy at like my, like when I was younger, they'd be like, quit being so uptight, you know? So it's like a give or take. It's just like I didn't know how to act, but like just learning that just to be myself no matter what, because they're gonna love me for who I am.
And how do you describe your personality back then growing up?
I was just quiet. People often misinterpret me for being shy, but I'm not shy. If I don't know you, I don't feel like talking to you.
And back then you were really into sports, right? Like sprinting, hurdles. Did you also do like pole vaulting?
So I was a year-round athlete. I did volleyball, I played powder puff, and I did track for 1 year, but I did the 4x1, the 100 hurdles. Yeah. And unfortunately the 200 hurdles, that shit was just a lot of work. Did you realize that you were athletic from the onset? Yeah, I've always been athletic. I've always been that little girl in PE beating all the boys.
Yeah, I love that. And was school something that you really pushed yourself in, or were your parents kind of like wanting you to do well in high school?
Well, you know, I'm Asian.
Yeah.
So
it's natural.
It's natural. So it comes with the territory. My mama always wanted me to, you know, be a straight A student, so that's where I get that discipline from.
And what kind of music was being played in the 2 households that you grew up in?
Hip-hop. A lot of hip-hop, a lot of R&B, a lot of old school, a lot of reggaeton, a lot of Jamaican music, a lot of just everything. That's why I love music. Yeah. Because my parents exposed me to a lot of genres.
And at what age did you start writing? You were writing poems, right?
Yes, I started writing poems when I was like 14 years old.
And were you doing open mics and stuff too?
I was doing open mics at school. Very nerve-wracking.
Really?
Because it's like you're not performing in front of strangers, you're performing in front of people you go to class with. Yeah. Yeah. And
you're also into like speaking, or did you get into debates?
So I had an English teacher in college, and she thought I'd be a great, you know, person to add to her debate team. I never followed through with it, but she just like, you know, really praised me for my ability to just give speeches well and to be persuasive in that. Because, you know, the #1 fear in America is public speaking.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I'm hella good at that shit. So she recognized that and was like, I want you to join my debate team, but that was a whole different other commitment that I wasn't ready for.
And I think I read somewhere that you were thinking about maybe a career in like newscasting or something TV related.
Yeah, because like I said, I love giving public speeches, public speaking, so I think the newscasting would have been perfect for that, but that wasn't where my passion was.
And back then, you were like also standing out that you were dyeing your hair with like Kool-Aid or...
So like I would have loved to have, like when I used to dye my hair with Kool-Aid, I was thinking that it was gonna come out like this. But it wouldn't. It would like tint it, but I never really had the opportunity to get colors like this, which is why I love to wear color now. But I've always been dyeing my hair since I was like 14 years old.
Do you remember how you first met Zaytoven?
From the last thing I can remember, we've always just been, you know, family. So it's not really meeting him. It's always been there.
And were you already, at what age did you start like working together on music?
My grandma sent me over to him when I was maybe like 14 years old. So that was like the first time, no, maybe like a little older than that. When I really started to like record with him, but I really didn't have a sound, so it was kind of difficult for me because I had just began writing. And from that I knew I needed, you know, just more practice as far as just going over the beats I liked and really just being able to execute, because an issue for me when I first started writing and recording was that I couldn't write fast. So it's really hard to like write on the spot when you're like a fresh artist dealing with someone who's very seasoned in the game.
And then how did you realize that you wanted to study communications?
I remember I had an elective, and the elective was public speaking. So from there I asked like what major is like this, and at the time I was at San Diego State, and they had told me that communication was very similar to the elective I took. And I was like, I want to be a communication major.
And back then, were you working also side jobs like at Kickstarter or something?
I was coding for Kickstarter. For my professor, I was a receptionist, I was a waitress, and I also sold these t-shirts. Money making money.
How did you start coding, or how did you get into it?
Well, my friend who was already coding asked me if I wanted another job, and I'm always into getting money. So I was like, of course. So they trained me. I was making $20 an hour, and for like a college student, like that's a lot of money an hour. So I took the job while I had 2 other jobs and was doing my clothing line and was going to school full time.
That's crazy. How did you juggle everything?
Honestly, girl, I just did it. Like, when you're in it, you don't realize how much you're accomplishing and how much you're doing until you look back. So at the time, I didn't realize how much I was really hustling and going hard for myself.
Were your parents aware of how much music meant to you and that it was going to be your career one way or another?
My dad did. My mom, you know, she was a little skeptical, but I think once I started to really pop off, my parents started to, you know, respect what I was doing, because it can be a little scary and just unsure when your kid is pursuing something in entertainment, because becoming an artist is not promised.
How did you meet people early on in music before you even started to do the Instagram stories, Instagram videos?
Thank you. You're welcome. I was just recording on my phone and posting it because I didn't have access to a studio.
Did you already start having studio time before like labels started approaching you?
When ICY GRL started to pop off, I had about 6 labels coming for me, and even after I signed with Warner Brothers, other labels were still, you know, asking about me, but by then I was already signed. And
then how do you realize it was the right time to talk to labels, like after you started doing the Instagram videos?
Well, at that time, ICY GRL needed to go to radio, and without label representation, it was really hard for me to do that. So I feel like with the deal that I was given, it was right, because ICY GRL had already a big buzz. I was already bringing something to the table, so it wasn't so much of me trying to come up with a song to release after I was signed. We already had it.
And how did you meet your management?
I met him at a Puma event. I didn't know who he was, and after I realized who he was, I was like, dang, like someone of that stature wants to work with me. So I took the meeting, and we've been vibing ever since. We work really well together. He's a workaholic, I'm a workaholic, And I think just those two combined has created this momentum we have going on.
How did you realize Warner was the right fit?
Immediately, it just felt, you know, like family, and I felt like they were very passionate about my music. It didn't feel like a deal. It felt like they really wanted to, you know, see the vision and help the vision come to pass.
So when was it when you were turning down like working at hospital offers?
That was after college. And I was just trying to get money. Like, I have very expensive habits and expensive tastes. I like to live well. I like to eat good. So
From your grandma, right? She's also like,
yeah, I was just
gets her nails.
trying to get money and not only pay my bills, but also just continue to just get whatever I wanted to get. So I was trying to find a job that paid for that.
Yeah. And then was it difficult, like going from doing the Instagram videos to working in a studio with people, like sharing your lyrics, stuff that you worked on?
It was a little difficult because one of my weaknesses is writing slow. I really like to take my time. So when I'm working with people who normally work fast, sometimes it's a little frustrating for me, but I'm getting better at that.
And how about sharing your lyrics, like the vulnerable side? Is that difficult or?
It is, but it isn't. When I'm really passionate about something, it tends to, you know, come out easier. So it has its, like, you know, its pros and its cons.
How did the Fenty Super Bowl ad come about?
It came about because one of my friends who I went to USC with, she was working with Fenty and she showed them ICY GRL and they thought I'd be a good fit for it.
How about with Reebok?
With Reebok, it was just kind of one of those things where they thought that my brand and their brand would be good for the collaboration they had coming out.
When did you meet Kehlani and G-Eazy originally?
I met Kehlani and G-Eazy through our management and through collaborating. But before that, I don't believe I met them. So it was really dope to work with them.
What made you want to start your label?
I wanted to start my label because I'd like to give an opportunity to, like, people who are once in my position. Like I said, I didn't have resources, so I went straight to social media to get my music out there.
How did you realize it was the right time for all this, like your label?
I've learned that there's really not a right time for anything unless it's like, you know, an EP rollout where you have to be strategic, but I feel like if you can do something, then do it.
And what's the inspiration for your upcoming EP, ICY?
The inspiration was just sassiness, attitude, and me just being unapologetically me. I feel like I was, you know, holding back in a sense where I wasn't really talking about everything I wanted to talk about. But for this EP, I wanted the listener to feel like she was my homegirl, like my homeboy. So it's very, you know, it's a little provocative, but shit, I was having fun with it.
Yeah. How about the music video inspiration behind Piss?
Pissed. I love Game of Thrones. I'm so excited for the new season.
The whole video was so well shot and everything.
Thank you. I'm really excited for this season. I really just wanted to channel my inner Khaleesi because she's just so bossed up and she be running shit.
Outside of music, what would you say are your inspirations?
Myself. And I'm trying to move away from mood boards and drawing from the past because I feel like what makes an artist unique is really just coming with the idea yourself. So I'm trying to just work on more original content.
And what was it like working with Quavo on your upcoming EP?
It was so exciting. You know, he has a lot of knowledge and a lot to share. So when we're in the studio, it's like a student and a teacher, and I learn a lot from him.
And what is the dynamic like being close but also being like music partners and bouncing music off stuff?
It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun together. And the songs that we have will, you know, illustrate that.
And has religion always been a big part of your life, right? You pray a lot.
Faith has. I think it's important to have that relationship with God, especially in this industry, because it keeps me grounded, it keeps me humble, and it just helps. It helps a lot when I'm going through tough times.
How would you say your music has changed compared to the early songs you made?
It's just growth. As an artist, the more we record, the more we grow, and I feel like that comes around in, you know, the music. It comes across in the music.
How would you say you've grown as a person compared to when you were younger?
I'm getting older. I don't know. I'm just becoming a woman. I'm learning more about myself. And especially being an artist. It's just a lot to learn, and I'm proud of my growth. And I feel like there's a lot more to work on, but that'll come through and across.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far in your life?
One of the biggest was just trying to become an official artist, because there's so many artists out nowadays, and even before that, like, it's really hard. It's easy, but it's hard at the same time to get a team around you to put that just believes in your vision, because I've wanted to do this for a long time, so I'm very grateful for just having all of that now.
What does love mean to you?
Love is support, and I think love is just an indescribable feeling. But love is important. And love keeps me happy. I'm happy I have a loving family.
Yeah.
And I'm happy I have loving friends who I can come and, you know, spend time with when I need to recharge.
Last question, what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for being just a very innovative artist. I want to have great shows. I want to get into acting. I'm going to be a mogul because I already have my jewelry, my beauty, my clothing line, my music, and like I said, I'm going to get into acting. So that's what I want to be remembered for.
Yeah.
A very powerful woman mogul that really made a dope and positive and just creative ass impact in the music culture.
Yeah, I love it. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.